Yeah, welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm Rachel. I don't know why I'm having a brain fart, as they say. I'm Rachel Abbasi, and I am a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. Wow, that was difficult. Hopefully, the rest of the episode goes better. Today, I wanted to talk about allowing other people to be wrong. Um, Giving up the control that I never actually had, but I thought I did, and listening. My first meeting this morning it was from the Daily Reflection. It always is on Saturdays. And it was listen, share, pray. And I think what the reading was about was a little different than what went through my head. Um, I hear what I need to hear every day, regardless of what's actually being said. And today I was thinking about listening and giving up that desire to interrupt people so that I can correct their course. It's not my job, right? It's not my business to correct people when I think that they're wrong. And the way that I start doing that is by just allowing others to be wrong. Um, because if I actually just keep my mouth shut and let somebody finish a sentence, I am allowing them in my head, as skewed as it is, I'm allowing them to be wrong, right? Uh I'm allowing them to it's respectful. It's respectful to allow them to complete what it is that they're thinking and what they're saying. And what I've learned a lot of times is when I just shut up and listen, half the time what I was about to interrupt and correct was wrong. Um, that if I had stopped and listened to the entire thought that somebody was going to say, I would have been able to hear that they had a purpose, of what they were going to say. And if I interrupt them, I don't allow them to complete that and provide me with the whole idea of what they're trying to say to me. And so I'm not articulating it very well, but if I'm listening to what somebody's saying and I think they're wrong and I want to interrupt them, I'm not giving them the opportunity to be right. I so the way that I had to think of it was I'm allowing others to be wrong. And the other half of like what I was saying, it, I am definitely having a hard time talking today. So this will be a doozy. You're welcome. Um, if I shut up and I listen, half the time when they complete their sentence or what they're trying to say, they end up making sense. And then the other half of the time, um, I quite often I'm wrong. But for some reason, especially when I was drinking, it never occurred to me that I was wrong. Um, I learned in the program to listen anyway. I guess that's another way of saying it, to listen anyway. I've always excused myself for interrupting by saying, I'll interrupt and I'll say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm an interrupter." And that is somehow giving me the excuse to interrupt people. But honestly, it's disrespectful for me to do that. And I've been trying really hard to stop interrupting people because it's disrespectful. And I feel like one of the reasons that I interrupt people is because I want to correct them sooner rather than later. I don't even want them to finish what they're saying because I need to correct them, you know? And I'm just not giving them an opportunity to live and let live. It's not my job. It's not my business. Um, when I learn in the program to accept things the way that they are, that entails a lot of stuff. That entails accepting people the way they are. That entails accepting people to believe what they believe and not feel inclined to sway them in another direction. There's a lot of that, it seems like, that's going on lately. I mean, it's always going on with politics. Um, but for me, it happens just in life in general. Like, I remember meeting with my boss, my world famous boss, and I remember him like talking to me. We were just in the office by ourselves, like the door was shut, and he would be talking to me about something that I just completely disagreed with. And I just was like, I cannot allow him to finish his sentence. But because he's my boss, I had to. I had to allow him to finish what it was that he was saying. And worst of all, he might be telling me to do something that I completely disagree with, for the benefit of the company. And I feel like what I think we should do is would the company would benefit from it more. And it's just not my place to put my opinion above others. It's not my place to put my voice ahead of others' voices. Um, I need to remember that my disease, my alcoholism is is a problem. There's a lot of, how can I say? I'm having the worst time thinking today. Um, it's a thinking problem, right? I mean, I'm having a thinking problem now, but this is a different type of thinking problem. I need to remember that my disease affected my thinker, and I would put myself above other people. I had an ego the size of Texas, and in order for me to live sober, and I mean emotionally sober, spiritually sober, I have to remember that left to my own devices, left to my own thinker, and thinking that I do everything right, my life became completely unmanageable. Um, and so I need to shut up. I'm learning how to shut up. But it's hard. It's hard for me to shut up. Um, and that's not to be submissive, because there's a lot of times where I'm thinking, okay, so what I have to do is listen to this person tell me something that I think is completely wrong, and I can't say that. I can't say that they're wrong. I can't share my opinion. No. Um, I can share my opinion, but it's not my job to tell them that they're wrong. It goes along the lines of that thing about, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? It doesn't matter. Um, like all I'm doing if I'm telling somebody that they're wrong is I'm making them feel bad and I'm making myself feel good. So it's just it's disrespectful. It's almost a little bit mean, I think. But sometimes I think like So I'm just going to roll over and let anybody say anything to me that they want. No, I can still stand up for myself. I can still share my thoughts and my opinions about things. But I need to accept that when I'm talking about what I'm talking about, and I truly believe, like wholeheartedly, in what I'm saying, um, I'm not sharing it for the purpose of convincing the other person. I'm sharing it to have a conversation about the topic. And um, so I'm being thoughtful and respectful, and not trying to control the other person. And I have to adopt an attitude of tolerance. I think that's really what this is. I wrote down this morning admitting versus acceptance. So my second meeting was about step one, and we were talking about admitting complete powerlessness. And I thought about one of the guys said that the word admitting is in step one more than the word powerlessness. And I thought, well, what is the difference between admitting and acceptance? I'm admitting that life is the way that it is, and I need to accept it. I'm accepting life on life's terms. I'm admitting that I haven't been able to manage my life. I haven't been able to accept my life the way that it is. And my response to life is drink. Like I feel like it's all intertwined together. And it's really a level of denial. That's what it is. Like if I'm not admitting that my life is unmanageable, if I'm not admitting that I don't have control over people, places, and things, that I'm not accepting life on life's terms, and I'm in denial. And me being in denial, doing things my way, got me drunk and got me almost dead, because that's how much I was drinking. And I heard this morning, like, I need to deflate my ego. And that is so relevant to being able to not try to course correct people all the time. The the first step of admitting powerlessness over alcohol, I realized this morning, like I had another little epiphany this morning. It was really an introduction to letting go, to acceptance. It was the first step in deflating my ego, deflating any idea that I know what's best. Um, it's proof that I don't know what's best. It was proof that I need help from other people. And I learned in step one to hand over control. Uh, and in step one, I didn't know what I was handing over control to. I just knew that I was letting go of the wheel. And let's just see, like if I keep driving the bus, I'm going to drive it right into the ground, drive it right off a cliff. So I'm just going to let go and see if that automatic driver that Elon has come up with, if that thing's going to keep me on the road or not. Um, I thought I had control over so many things, and that just kept me very sick for a really long time. I've talked for several days in a row here about that my mind was warped. I mean, I think that that's the theme this week, that my thinking was so freaking warped. Um, I feel like in sobriety, we say take one day at a time, but another angle to look at it is taking sobriety one person at a time. Depending on how much you interact with people, one person in my life, just one person, it doesn't matter who it is, can throw me so off of my track that I am in an instant not emotionally sober. And I try to take back control of the wheel. I try to correct them. And there is no passing. Like I cannot do anything else until I correct the problem. I get obsessive about the problem, the person, um, and I have to revisit what it's like to admit complete powerlessness because that obsessive thinking that I have, where I can't let go of something, that is so unhealthy for my emotional well-being. And it stays there. That obsessive thinking stays there until I finally start listening again. It's like my ears just turn off and I've got this thing where I'm pissed off at somebody and I just it keeps turning and turning and turning and turning. It'll drive me crazy. Um, remember when recently I had helped the lady, the older woman down the street go vote, and then it turned into this like she wanted so much out of me that I didn't have the ability to do. And I started getting so obsessed with it that I was literally sick. I mean, I couldn't eat. And I didn't know what to do. It was all just self-talk. And I'm trapped inside of this like echo chamber. That's what it feels like when I'm upset about something. It's just like this, my self-talk is trapped in an echo chamber and I can't get out of it. And the way that I do is going to meetings. That is what seems to pull me out of that echo chamber is listening in meetings. I have a tendency to not listen to my husband's advice until I hear it somewhere else. And then I go back and say, oh yeah, I somebody said this. And he's like, didn't I tell you that 3 days ago? And I'm just like, yeah, for some reason, I need my meetings. I need somebody in sobriety to um, align what the issue is that I'm dealing with to the program. And then I'm like, okay, I can do that. Because the program makes sense to me. Living according to the principles of the 12 steps makes sense to me. So when I can align my issue with one of the steps, then it makes sense. And I think that's what I'm attempting to do today is articulate this connection between um, step one and admitting complete powerlessness and allowing other people to be wrong. Like it doesn't seem like there's a correlation there, but to me there is. It's like admitting that I don't have control over people, places, and things. And it's not my business. Like all I can do is focus inward, is listen to what other people are saying, share my opinion, share my experience, and pray. That's it. And if I follow that, things seem so much simpler. Um, if I try to listen, share, convince the other person that they're wrong and then pray that they figure out that they're wrong, that is not going to work. That is not the way of my program. I need to listen to others. I need to share my experience, strength, and hope. And then I need to pray. I need to pray that thy will be done, not mine. And thy will is in there. I hear somebody all the time in my meetings say, God lives there too. And isn't that true? Like the my higher power and thy will be done and all that beautiful stuff, it lives in the ugly stuff too. And it's hard for me to be all in on that when somebody's saying something that I disagree with. I also heard this morning that I need to ask questions rather than trying to always provide the answers. And I really like that. Um, Ask questions that will help with my ability to play my role as a human being among human beings, at my role in the relationship. Ask questions so that I can shimmy myself into a step that I can practice in that relationship. So, wow, I got off with a pretty rough start, but that's okay. If you kept listening, hopefully the episode went somewhere for you. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.